All right, I see people entering. Looks like we've got 16 people so far, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So hello, folks. My name is Bernadette Austin. So next slide. My name is Bernadette Austin. I'm the director of this program, the Regional Small Business Utilization Center. So thrilled to have you here today. I am joined today by my colleagues, Andrea Cow and Ray Nelson. So if you have any questions, you can send those messages to them via chat. Next slide. So imagine that many of us are not new to webinars. So just a few reminders. This webinar is being recorded, something for you to think about as you present some of your questions. Also, please mute your microphone so that we can hear the other speakers very clearly. Make sure you introduce yourself in chat. Take any notes. There's a lot of opportunities to connect with our speakers after this webinar. And then please do ask questions, and you can do that a couple of ways. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a box with a question mark in it. You can use that Q&A function, and our speakers can respond during the webinar. We also will be responding to questions from that Q&A box or using the chat function, which looks like some thought bubbles also at the bottom of your screen after all of the presenters have spoken. Next slide. So we'd like to take a moment to thank some of our program sponsors. This absolutely would not be possible without them. So we thank our partners at the the California Office of Small Business Advocate, SMUD. We have a representative from SMUD today joining us, and Sierra Health Foundation. And next slide. We also want to thank our programmatic partners. We have a variety of partners in the construction industry, but very notably Associated General Contractors of California, which is based, their headquarters are in Yolo County, where I live, and we're so thrilled to have representatives from them with us today. So next slide. I wanted to introduce our organizations, have you all introduce yourselves. We'll be doing a poll. So if you're not familiar with that, we'll be launching a poll in the next couple of slides. And then of course, we will hear from our wonderful presenters. So first I wanted to talk about the Asian Chamber. This organization has been around for over 30 years, and we work in a variety of spaces. We work in public policy. We have a variety of programs, just noting a few. Regional Small Business Utilization Center is one of them. We have been partnering on the statewide California Jobs First initiative, and we also have been in a leadership role with the Inclusive Economic Development Collaborative. So you can absolutely ping us for more questions about that. And we do have membership available, but programs like these, including the Regional Small Business Utilization Center and our webinars, are free of charge. So we'll go on to the next slide. So diving in a little bit deeper to this program. If you could, Andrea, drop that in chat. Perfect, thank you. So there's a website for more information. We have several upcoming events, whether it's through us or our partner organizations. We'll be highlighting those at the end of the webinar, but I want to highlight that we are working with folks in the construction industry. So general contractors, very much interested in working with subcontractors, small businesses, et cetera, that are working in the construction industry. And we are working with partners in Sacramento, Placer, and Yolo counties through a variety of ways. All right, so let's go to the next slide. I'd like to hear, from the folks who were in the room. So I also welcome our panelists to respond as well. So we're going to launch a couple of questions in the poll. So we'd like to know first, what industries are you working in? And you can select more than one response. So are you working in healthcare, retail, etc.? We'll take a minute to let people respond. That's so funny. I just got a note on Zoom. Panelists are not invited to vote, but attendees, we'd love to hear from you what industries you work in. So you can go ahead and click that right on your screen. Okay, so I think let's see if we've had enough responses. Let's go ahead and close that poll and see what the results are. Okay, so we have quite a few responses. It looks like the majority of folks here represented today have been working in transportation. Not a big surprise given all of those infrastructure dollars that were coming through. But I want to note that people are working in privately and publicly funded projects. We have folks who are working across residential, retail, commercial, industrial, and healthcare and others. So thank you for responding. This gives you a sense of who else is in the room. So we'll go ahead and close that and launch the next question. So we'd like to know a little bit about your geography. So where do you work? And this can be not just a reference to where your headquarter locations are, but also where you are doing projects. So again, you can click more than one. Great, let's go ahead and close that poll and see who's in the room. Great, so the largest number of people are working in Sacramento County, which isn't a big surprise, but we have people working all over the capital region, including Placer and Yolo. I also want to note that quite a few folks are working outside of the capital region, and this is actually one of the things that we had thought about, was that we are really a launching pad for a lot of projects, including the Bay Area and the Central Valley and the Sierras. All right, let's close that poll and go to our last question. Great, thank you. So we'd like to know a little bit about how many people work for your organization. And I'll share with you, this is not our first webinar, we've done several, and we have found that it's been really diverse. So please share with us how big the organization that you work for is. All right, let's go ahead and close that poll, because ideally you just selected one. Great. All right. So it looks like we have, again, small businesses well represented. So it's roughly half and half of small businesses with either a single proprietor or up to 5 employees. And then the rest of you are working in organizations that have 50 or fewer employees. That's great to hear. All right, we'll go ahead and close that. I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce our wonderful speakers. I'm going to introduce them in the order that they're going to speak. As I've mentioned, please do use the Q&A or chat functions to share any questions that you have. And I'm doing some brief intros because we have a lot of speakers with some really great content. So first and foremost, we're going to be hearing from, if you want to move the next slide, I apologize. We can get the names to the faces. So first, we're going to be hearing from Patrice Griffith, who has 29 years of experience in the field of residential, commercial, and industrial real estate. She's managed and developed millions of square feet in real estate throughout Northern California in both the public and private sectors. And currently, she's the Director of Real Estate Services at University Enterprises, Inc., directly serving Sac State University, where she oversees all aspects of real estate services for UEI, including land acquisition, development, facilities management, and project management of capital projects, tenant, and dining improvements. After that, we're going to hear from Franklin Burris with SMUD. With 20 years in commercial retail development and real estate, Franklin Burris serves as SMUD's economic development and partnerships on SMUD's economic development and partnerships team's lead, which supports SMUD's commitment to a vital local economy and to our clean energy vision of being a powerful partner for an inclusive zero carbon economy. Franklin's a valued partner of the RSBUC in helping promote public contracting opportunities. As a construction services lead for SMUD's SEED program, which stands for Supplier Education and Economic Development, which gives advantages to local small businesses contracting with SMUD. After that, we're going to move on to the airport. We have Renata Dare here, who is the Senior Airport Economic Development Specialist at the Sacramento International Airport, where she leads the airport's concessions program with a focus on long-term planning, small business participation, and revenue growth. With more than 20 years of experience in aviation, including airport operations, regulatory enforcement, and economic development. She has helped design competitive RFP processes that encourage broad participation and long-term project success. Excellent. So then looking at that second slide, after that, we're going to hear from Matt Dwyer. Matt serves as the Business Outreach Manager at the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises Services at Cal DGS, Department of General Services. And in this role, he educates business owners about the benefits and opportunities of pursuing a small business certification, a disabled veteran business enterprise certification, DVBE, and the previously SBE, and contract opportunities with the state of California. After that, we'll be talking with our colleague at Caltrans. Sushma Lee is the construction manager for District 10. She's been with Caltrans for 28 years, with 8 years in design and 20 years in construction. Currently, she oversees construction operations across 5 counties, where her responsibilities include managing the electrical unit, materials lab, construction support team, and administrative functions. And last but certainly not least, we are also going to hear from a friend of the RSBUC, Jim Benson, who's a founder and a chief technology officer of Ratio Exchange, a SaaS software company that delivers digital ecosystems to connect buyers, suppliers, innovators, and partners to accelerate problem solving and acquisitions processes. Prior to that, he served as a chief visionary officer for a federally funded mid-market company. And currently, he's the development partner for Opportunity Link, which you'll be hearing about extensively later on today. So we're so thrilled to have you here. I'm going to turn it over to Patrice.
Good morning. Okay. So on the first slide, I just really want to give you an idea of what I'll just be touching on. And really it's the tips, tricks, secrets of this process from my perspective as being a private company in a public entity world. So on the next slide, you'll see our properties, just to give you an idea of the opportunities that may be presenting itself today by contacting with me. Our portfolio consists of office buildings. We have homes, we have residential, and we actually have a tow yard. We have raw land. On the next slide, you'll also see an array of dining options. So I oversee all the dining options when it comes to the construction and build out here on campus. And what that really means is I'm constantly looking for contractors to fix those things, fix the equipment, to build out. We have 2 concepts right now that I'm working on. But all that you see here, there are actually more. So our vendor base and our networking when it comes to our vendors is very important. On the next slide, I really want you to be comfortable with the fact that we are just people. I know the RFP process can be difficult at times. It can be a little daunting, but I'm here to help you with that process. So when it comes to working with me, it's not always about the public bid process. I don't always have to utilize that, but at times I do. In some cases, great example, last week, I went to another event where I met a small business owner who did window coverings. And we actually have a meeting next week. I have a space that's 800 something square feet. So I wanted to build that relationship. I scheduled a meeting, and then yesterday afternoon, the opportunity came up to bid. So I can actually just pick up the phone and contact people to call for that. So your connections are very important. Meet everybody, take advantage of people in the room, because that will lead to additional RFP opportunities that might not be so rigorous in trying to put your package together. On the next slide, there are 2 ways to bid. So the QR code on this, I invite you to scan that. That is the direct link to Planet Bids for Sacramento State. If you do not know what Planet Bids is, it is very easy to navigate, first of all, but it consists of all the jobs here with Sacramento State that are on Planet Bids. At times, I also use Planet Bids to put certain work out for formal RFP. But if you have any questions, what you're seeing on that, feel free to let me know. I will help to the extent that I can. But the other way to bid is by invitation, which through myself, if I'm not on Planet Bids, I'm just reaching out to my network to build on jobs big and small, like you see here. The demolition project, We just completed 30 units of faculty staff housing last year, and I actually built out the gymnastics facility for Sacramento State that's currently being utilized. The next slide, this is just do's and don'ts. What you want to do, what you don't want to do. So what you definitely want to do is first and foremost, confirm that the opportunity is right for your company. You don't ever want to jump into something that's entirely too big or outside of your scope or your company's focus of business, because that does not create a win-win situation. And you don't want to sever that relationship because it can happen in the entire CSU system. Part of what we do when we do a huge project, or really any project in the CSU, we close out that project and we have to send a report to the chancellor's office about our experience with the contractor we partnered with. So it is very important. Make sure it fits your company. Break down the request. I always take it and then I copy it and I slap that into a Word document and break it out so that it's more palatable for you and you can focus on each piece and answer each question. Visit the site where the work will take place if you're able. That is very important. I recently had a janitorial bid actually, and the person opted not to visit the site. Very odd, but that's up to them. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You have a 50-50 shot whether they're going to be able to answer that for you or not. Capture all the requested costs. So I just had another bid come in and they did not capture all the costs and they would have eaten a $50,000 cost themselves. So make sure that you're capturing all those costs. Add your contingency if you feel there needs to be a contingency that wasn't built in, or if there are project concerns, such as I just had an asphalt bid walk. And during the walk, one of the vendors was like, you have all this alligatoring going on, the parking lot is shot. I understand that. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Right now, my budget doesn't necessarily allow for that. So add it as an alternate. Add those things as alternates. Do not just build in things in your number because you think it should be there, because you're probably not going to get chosen for that work. Not even if you come in less than that, but you're adding additional work that maybe on the project management side they aren't prepared for, they're not prepared to oversee. Um, Double and triple check your bid. Too many times, things are not right in a bid. The smallest things are missed. And when it comes to those formal bids that some of our partners will talk about momentarily, but also on planet bids, you're automatically out of the running. There are no second chances. It is not fair for us to go to the other people who have submitted and submitted accurately, but yet you're given more time to do so. So that bid is just discounted. Whereas if it's a smaller project for me and I can circumvent having to use planet bids and the more formal process, that discretion I actually leave up to my managers if they're doing the bid process. Submit on time. Submit on time. We are on timelines, and you want to respect that process. If it is a very formal bid process, again, on Planet Bids for us and on most other public bid processes, if you are late, you are automatically out. So you have wasted all of that time preparing that bid, and even if you're a minute late, you're out of the process. Don't make assumptions. Don't ever do that. Don't ever exclude required information. Make sure that's in there. That's why breaking out that bid is great. So you can see each piece, each line item, and ensure that you have answered the questions and provided the information. Don't underestimate your competitors and stand out in a good way. I've seen some amazing packages come through, and the people that stand out to me are those who focus on key items that are important to, for example, our institution. So I've had people go through and read our mission statement, what our priorities are, do their research online, and they take that information that they found and they've built it into their cover letter or their summary somewhere in that bid. And to us, at least at UEI in Sacramento State, that is very important. We also do look at if people on the team are Sac State grads. So if you have someone, some relationship that you can make that connection, whether that's in your letter, in their bio of the team, make the connection and stand out from your competitor. Don't discount your skill set. Too many people, feel like they aren't worthy, so to speak, to get such a big job or to even apply for the RFP. Don't discount your skill set. Just because you happen to be a small business, a smaller company, does not mean that you are not capable of doing that. In many ways, it can mean the exact opposite, but also in many ways, people like me look out to work with people like you. We track small business relationships, veteran relationships, I mean, a lot. Don't recreate the wheel. Use your company template. If you don't have one, create some things such as your bio and other cover letters that you can easily swap out that information so you're not starting from scratch with every single RFP that you're putting out there. And again, don't ever submit late. Don't do it. No exception. Get it done and respect the process and submit on time. The last slide coming up here is just my contact information. So that is my e-card. Feel free to contact me. I did put my email address there in case for some reason you're having a problem scanning, but just know that I'm more than happy to make the connection and help answer any questions you have. And we'll be doing some Q&A at the end of everyone's presentation, so I look forward to that.
That's
Thank
phenomenal, Patrice. I really like that list. It was very clear and concise in the things that I see. I'd like to turn it over to our colleagues over at SMUD. So Franklin, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Bernadette. So I'm Franklin Burris. I'm at SMUD. For those of you in Sacramento, you're going to know that we are the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. We are the electricity provider. And we have you can go to the next slide. We have a program called SEED. So we are a public utility. We're a not-for-profit community owned. We have an elected board. We're the 6th largest community-owned utility in the United States. We've been around for over 75 years. We have a very aggressive power mix that is carbon-free 50%, and will be 100 by 2030 is our commitment. We have low rates, reliable service, but because we're community-owned, you can't buy our stock. So our board return to our owners, which really are all of our customers, is that 20% minimum of what we contract will stay with local small businesses within our service territory. We call that program SEED. If you go to the next slide. Most important thing to know about that is last year we did 30%, and that was $204 million. For the first time ever this year, SMUD now has over $1 billion in contracts that are active that we are managing. As we move to a 2030 clean energy plan, we are spending a lot more than we have. That's for grid resilience, that's for alternative energy, that's in insurance and fire safety costs. So there's lots of drivers for that, but we are spending about twice as much as we were 3 to 4 years ago annually in our spend. Two things to know about this program. So if you are local, which means you're within our service territory, and you are certified by the California Department of General Services, Cal eProcure, we use that certificate, any of their small business certifications, you can be in the SEED program, and we give you benefits to that for being in that program. 5% off in pricing preference and 10 points in evaluation preference. But if you are not from our local area to qualify for SEED, you can grab those same benefits by incorporating subs that are 20% or more of your proposal. So obviously, being a utility, we have people, anybody can bid all the time, and we get bids from Europe for certain products. So that is our way to force them to try to use more local small businesses as well. So it works both ways. I will tell you, in most of our competitive procurement contracts, the majority have seed content or seed preference points involved. Even from large projects, we did a administrative building project last year that was 125 million. Even that had at least 12% seed content to it. So both of those are important. The good news I will share with you is, like Patrice, we also now are using Planet Bids. So yay, same portal. As you may know, if you get into procurement, there are lots of portals and lots of profiles. I like to encourage you to think of them all as a database. And so the more you're in, the better, right? You're in DGS's database, people can find you up and down the state when they're looking for a certified small business. You're got a profile in Planet Bids, start following multiple jurisdictions that do work in Planet Bids, like Sac State, like SMUD, like Regional Transit. Great choices for you. We'll go to the next slide. This will basically gives you the quick steps about the seed program. But I want to have you think, when you're thinking to respond to RFPs, you're going to talk about how wonderful you are and how great you are and all the wonderful things that you can do. But I want to encourage you to flip that around and think about, how is this being read and understood by the people on the other side? And I say people because it might not be a person. Especially I'm the lead for our construction outreach. I will tell you, construction projects are large. They're usually complicated. There are technical aspects, especially here at SMUD. If we're building a substation or a generation, there may be multiple teams of people reviewing your RFP. They're going to take those portions apart, and different teams are going to evaluate different portions of that. Might be work history, project experience, maybe safety record. Maybe it's dealing with a specific type of generation, if you've done projects with that. They're going to look at that. And so when you are filling it out, you're thinking, gee, I've already told you this in that other section. Or why do I need to attach this when I've already attached this other history of my work? And my encouragement is to be redundant. Put it everywhere. Make the answer the easiest to find, because you don't know who is looking at what parts or just a part. So if you say refer to section 12, the person reviewing section 4 might not have section 12. So the more that you can be redundant, put that in there, make it very plain. I like to tell people it's like, coming to school after summer. What did you do this summer? The answer is, what I did this summer was, and then you go on. You make it, that answer tied to the question as blatantly as you can. And we've had this with the example you see on the slide is our catering contract. This is one of our local businesses from Oak Park called Gazpacho's, family-owned business. They're on our catering list. I will tell you that we selected 16 caterers locally to be on that list to do work with us. There were some who responded to a very simple question, which said, you need to have a specific menu for SMUD, not your regular menu. That was a requirement. Many people uploaded their normal menu. They didn't even put SMUD at the top. Those all got thrown out because it didn't answer that very simple question. Even if it was your regular menu, they should have said SMUD menu at the top. Just type it on there. Add it in your PDF. That's where, Patrice talked about this. Know what those requirements are. Think of cheats you have. Can you use AI or Chat GPT to pull out must, shall, will out of the 23 pages? So you have those lists. Those are the things you have to have. You don't have one of those things. One of those things, as Patrice mentions, you're out. So make sure you capture that information and think about how people are going to digest what you're putting forward on the backside.
Thank you so much, Franklin. Those are really valuable insights. And if you're following the chat, there's some responses to questions, which is a great resource. And also we've provided some links. There's also a QR code. I'm going to move things along to Renata with the airport.
Hello, everyone. So just a lot of the other speakers have talked a lot about some of the key things that I'm going to bring up. Try to fill in some of the. I don't want to hash over too many of the same points, but some of the things to remember when reviewing an RFP is to read the full RFP, like every single page. Make sure you meet the minimum requirements if there's like licenses, certifications, experience. If there's a pre-proposal meeting, attend it, even if you're not quite sure if it meets if you're not quite sure if that opportunity is for you, you may make connections, especially if it's in person. Sometimes if you're going to be subcontracting, that's where you can meet your primes. And there might be an aspect within the overall job that is perfect for you if you can't fulfill the full opportunity. And so that's a great way to make those connections, and match the like what I made a little note, what Franklin said about answering the question. Like I know for us, we have a panel of people who review the RFPs, and it may not be the person who put together who has that need, who said, this is what I'm looking for, and this, the department put it together. They're not on the panel. So the first person who reviews those RFPs that come in is very much looking for, did they meet the requirements as far as like page limits, the format, all the different sections, and label them. Like, if the RFP says section 1 is minimum qualifications, have a section that says minimum qualifications. Make it very clear to whoever's reviewing that I have answered every single piece that you've asked for. Submit all the required forms and attachments. Be repetitive. Don't leave anything blank. Missing attachments or not following instructions can disqualify, even if you're a great fit. Sometimes, you can review a proposal and be like, this, I can tell, like overall, like this would be great, but we have to disqualify for some reason. Make sure you tell your story clearly. Focus on what makes your business unique and capable. Also, like review the entity that you are applying the opportunity for. See what aligns with them. If they are understand what their goals are and what their needs are and how you can meet them. If they're going to have the evaluation criteria listed, so speak directly to each one of those criteria. So talk about, like if they say in there that they value innovation, explain how you'll bring fresh ideas. If they prioritize local business, highlight that. And then be realistic in your pricing. I know we've had some where maybe the pricing is less than other proposals, but they didn't really explain it. They didn't go into detail like, okay, well, what is this? Well, what are we getting for this? Really, explain what the cost is and what we're paying for. And if things are firm, say why. Like maybe it's a sourcing, it's where you source your supplies from, or different things that you utilize within your service, and just be very transparent about it. And if things are negotiable, say that within the proposal, the pricing proposal. If you are teaming up and you have a partnership within your bid, explain that, provide resumes, qualifications, and then also explain who's doing what, like what the different responsibilities are within that partnership.
And Renata, I just want to note you have 1 more minute and 2 more slides. So do you want to go look at either of those slides and highlight something? No problem. I just want to make sure you had visuals that accompanied your really great comments.
There we go. I'm on teaming up. Okay, so then the next one. Okay, so then be professional and on time. So again, submit on time, submit early. Like there's deadlines that are, they always have like when things are due. You don't have to wait till then. You can submit before then. A lot of times there's technical difficulties, submitting online, something's not working properly, the Wi-Fi, I don't know, internet goes out. Make sure that you submit on time. We cannot accept late proposals. And then if possible, confirm that it was received. So, and ask questions. There's usually, I mean, there's always a mechanism in place to ask a question. Always ask if you're unclear.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. There's a lot of exciting things happening at the airport, and we love that you spent time with us. So I will note too for folks, because we will have pretty small amount of time for Q&A, just because we have so many speakers. I would encourage folks to use the chat function for that. And now I'm going to move over to Department of General Services with Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go pretty quick here. A lot of this is very similar and standard stuff you're hearing from everybody about RFPs. So in terms of working with the state of California, I want to say just pretty much everything everybody said rings true here. Couple just additional tips for contract readiness. Really make sure you meet the eligibility requirements. RFPs are complex procurements. It's the most kind of complex procurement we have at DGS. They require expertise on your end. So you want to make sure when you step up to do an RFP, you're going to propose something. The state doesn't exactly know what it wants. It knows what a problem is, and it knows it needs to solve that problem, but doesn't have the exact solution in mind. And so you have to come and be ready to do that. Additionally, do you have financial capacity? Depending on the type of RFP you're pursuing and what the payment terms and conditions are of the actual contract, you need to make sure you can do that. And of course, can you actually deliver on the contract if you get it? So it's not a wish list. If you actually bid and you actually win, you do need to follow through and do it. And of course, making sure you have licenses, certifications, and the appropriate insurance. We can go to the next slide. There's a list of common mistakes. These will look familiar to all the common mistakes everyone else has talked about so far. They might seem really basic, but they're really, really important. As Franklin had shared about, a menu being submitted slightly wrong can get you disqualified. That's really true at the state of California too. The bidding instructions are very specific and very detailed, and they're not universal. So the bidding instructions are not going to be the same for every RFP issued by all the different state departments in the state of California. So you really do need to read everything, double check everything before you actually submit it in. We can go to the next slide. So a couple tips for success. Ask questions early on. The state has very specific and rigid processes around when it shares information and asking, taking questions and amending solicitations and things like that. So if you're waiting to the 11th hour, it's too late. Make sure you really read and understand the scope of work and the requirements that are in the solicitation. My team specifically here at DGS, we can't help you interpret solicitation documents and understand them. That's on you as a business person to be able to understand. And I'm sure there's some resources here that may be able to assist you with that. And then lastly, of course, if you actually secure a state contract, you are legally bound to deliver. If you're not able to do that and you fail that contract, that's pretty bad when it comes to future possibilities of working with the state to not actually perform on a contract. So that's all I have to add for now. I look forward to hearing what questions you all have. Thank you.
So much, Matt. Really appreciate that. And so if folks aren't familiar with DGS, I mean, they really are a critical agency that serves essentially as a portal for a number of ways that you can get both certifications and a foot in the door with various state agencies. And speaking of state agencies, I'm going to turn it over to Sushma from Caltrans District 10.
I'm still muted. Can you guys hear me? Sorry about that. I thought I
Great now. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Good afternoon, and it's nice to follow Matthew because I've got a lot of similar key concepts and best practices. I am located in District 10. I think the next slide kind of shows all the different counties that District 10 covers. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, there you go. Yeah, it covers all the different counties, but when it comes to, bidding, it's pretty much consistent throughout the state. Caltrans has 12 districts, so it's pretty much same. So some of the key concepts I wanted to talk about was, making sure you know where these bids are posted. That's like the most important thing. Make sure it's Cali Procure or the office engineer's website. It's called Contractors Corner. If you've never visited that, please take a look at it. It is a wealth of knowledge on there. And so Caltrans projects are normally, you have a bid opening, date and time shown, project scope, engineer's estimate, and of course the contract plans and specifications. Some of the different types of contracts that Caltrans advertises are your traditional design built projects, which is designed by Caltrans, built by contractor. And then there's the design build, and then the maintenance contracts and emergency contracts. So those are just some of the key concepts, but I've got some best practices I put together. Again, they're going to align a lot with all the other speakers, but you know what? We can never emphasize enough how important it is. Go to the next slide. So again, I don't want to repeat everyone else, but just make sure you read the RFP thoroughly and you know exactly what is requested and follow instructions. Know your deadlines, know your the criteria of what the project scope and goal is and the deliverables. Follow instructions. And I mean, we've all said this again and again, but it's really important that we don't miss a signature line or we don't miss a date. Demonstrating you understand the project. I mean, that kind of comes to knowing what you're bidding for, knowing the bid items, and understanding what is expected. Emphasize on your qualifications. You have certs, you're a DVBE, whatever certifications you may have, make sure they're put in there. And I did include provide a realistic and competitive bid. It is the lowest bid, so you don't want to cheat yourself. I always say, in the end, if you don't put out a competitive bid and make sure that you covered all your rates and deliverables, and your cost proposal doesn't reflect, being transparent, in the end, it doesn't end well for both parties. Again, be clear, be concise, be professional, and I'm just going to repeat it again. Make sure you get it on time. A timely submission is so important. And, you're dealing with computers a lot of times. You're not dealing with, real life people when you're submitting bids. So you miss that timely deadline, that's it. And you have to wait till your next opportunity. But, I know I went through it really fast, but I've got some links on the next page that'll be available.
Those are great. And my colleague Andrea can drop those links into chat so that folks can keep checking that out. And also we'll have these available. But thank you so much, Sushma. That's great.
No problem.
So we talked a lot about, there's a lot of different platforms. Do encourage you to follow those platforms. One of the things that we're endeavoring to make things easier for you at the Regional Small Business Utilization Center is Opportunity Link. And so we're going to hear from our colleague Jim, who's helped us develop this great website. We are also, I'll just wanted to put a commercial out there. We are providing this service free of charge for folks to get set up in, and we can set up some meetings with folks to get connected with this site where we are talking with partners and providing links to Planet Bids and elsewhere, maybe their own procurement systems so that you can find them in one place. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Bernadette. So which one of these speakers is not like the other? That would be me. So I'm happy to be here. Just for folks' knowledge, we've been a member of the chamber for 3 years and are 100% behind the mission, helping small businesses. I've spent 20 years in the consulting world before I started Ratio. So fully understand all the nuances of contracting and programming, which is essentially why we kind of built the platform. And what I'm going to walk you through very quickly, because I know I've only got about 3 to 4 minutes, is just a showcasing of what it is. So as Bernadette said, it's a free platform for you. We support it, and I think where it's probably the most connectful is something that Matthew said before around there are resources that are out there to help. And that's essentially what the platform is. Once you log in, essentially you've got a lot of different options, but essentially it's around finding opportunities and being able to respond to those in a way that's safe. And I can walk you through that in a second. So next slide, please. What you'll see when you log in is an aggregation of opportunities. There are opportunities that CalAsian is putting in within the system themselves from a lot of different resources. And whether that be Caltrans, whether it be there's opportunities from the Department of Transportation, from the County of Napa, OpenGov. So you have a team that's constantly looking out for you and trying to find opportunities to be able to help you. And that's one of the things that you see here. In addition, we have automatically integrated into a number of other systems. For instance, we pull in all the opportunities from the California e-procurement, as well as federal contracts and federal grants. And we give you the opportunity here to be able to search for them by keyword, by phrase, and then start to save these opportunities and work them, which is the slides that I'm going to go through next. So keep going. So for every opportunity and across the system, we've integrated AI. And what that means is you can start asking questions about the opportunity. And I'm a big fan of AI, but it's meant to help you kind of discover and understand things. Like, for instance, you could ask it, what are all the compliance activities that I need to write to be compliant with this RFP or with this opportunity? So you've got your own AI consultant that's part of the opportunity. You can ask it things like win themes. You can ask it who are the competitors, or who would be the right people to do this, or what are your risks around bidding for something. So for any opportunity that's an opportunity link, you have this AI assistant or AI consultant at your disposal, and you can ask it any question that you want. Next slide. A key feature of this is when you log in, there will be a link that asks you to update your company or your business profile. If you have products and services, and whether those are slick sheets or whether those are just general descriptions of the types of service offerings that you have, if you add those to your profile, you can start to then use AI to align those services to that opportunity. So in this instance, you're picking a couple of products, and you can actually get an AI analysis around how well you align to that opportunity. And it's not just kind of from an alignment score. If you go to the next slide, what AI will do is give you the strengths of your products, the weaknesses, some threats, and then gaps, because you may have some gaps that maybe you didn't consider because of something in the proposal. So it'll automatically look at your products and services and identify those gaps, and then give you options to be able to search to find potential partners. Next slide. Within each opportunity, you've got a workspace. So this is an area that you can bring your team together if you want. Within there, you can start to collaborate. You can start to identify potential partners. You could identify potential competitors and start to kind of think through how you want to best respond to the RFP. So all of these things are resources, like to Matthew's point, to help you think through things, as well as use AI, because you may not fully or there may be other ideas or other insights that AI has that maybe you didn't consider. So next slide. And I'm going fast. There's an opportunity matching piece to this, where if you change your match settings around the keywords that you're interested, around the states that you're interested, then the system will automatically go across all the opportunities and then flag them for you. And as we work with the chamber, we're going to continue to expand and grow that to potentially use AI so that we can be a little bit more specific as opposed to just general matching. Next slide. And I think I've got 2 more to go. One of the big pieces that you'll see when you log in is something that we call AI documents. And what AI documents allows you to do is come in and start to use AI to start to write your proposal. This isn't meant to be the final proposal because there's a lot more than just using AI, but it is a good starting point. So if you go after something, you want to write a proposal, we have created all the sections, the general sections over here to the left where you see cover letter, executive summary. Those are templates that just by clicking on them, they will look at the opportunity and they will automatically write that section. Next slide. And finally, and we talked a little bit about this, your business profile. There are areas in here where you can add your marketing material, customer snapshots. It is all secure. Your products and services, and the more information that you add to the system, the better that AI is going to be able to look at your profile and help you respond to an opportunity. Bernadette, I hope that's enough, but I'll stop.
Yes, you did great. There's a lot here, and I'll just highlight again that there's a lot of opportunity to connect with us to help you get set up an opportunity link free of charge. So that's all available. Yeah. So next slide, please. For our attendees, we'd love to hear from you. So if you want to take a moment to follow that QR code, if my colleagues could also drop that in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. You know, the sooner that you fill out this survey, the better. In the meantime, I want to highlight a couple things for my panelists. So Sushma, we have a question in the chat. We have a minority and women-owned business that wants to know if Caltrans has any software projects. And if you don't know, maybe you could give them a recommendation. So you could actually just respond in chat. And then Jim, there's a question in the Q&A that asks, are there any recommendations for AI tools geared specifically towards RFP? So I hope that question was answered, but perhaps you and Sashkam can respond to that.
Yep.
So yeah, so like I said, giving our attendees a minute to start filling out the survey. You can complete it after the webinar is done, but I know that I'm one of those people where it's out of sight, out of mind. So let me ask a couple of questions. I think I'll take time for one question. Saksham asked, sometimes as a prime contractor, we notice that RFPs don't clearly specify which forms should be required for subcontractors. And I have found that in a variety of fields, not just in construction. In such cases, what's the best approach? Should we assume that the same forms apply to all or seek clarification from the agency? So anyone want to tackle that one?
I would just seek clarification from the agency for sure on that. And I know exactly what you mean, but seek clarification.
Yeah, great recommendation. And I would imagine that folks agree with that. And then what I'll also say is, you know, firms we're all busy, and you're extra busy if you're a small firm. So what would you recommend that is kind of the best use of their time to do some business development around RFPs? So I'll just share with you, for example, we talked about bid meetings. Attending those are really important. Even if you don't have a question, people may ask something that you didn't think to ask. And the other piece is, I know that when I was in college, going to your professor's office hours are really important. That FaceTime and getting to develop a relationship is one way to do that. But I wonder if others have recommendations on what small businesses can do to develop these relationships even before the RFPs come out.
I think, a lot of it is networking. You want to develop a team. You want to have a bench. I tell people it might be somebody that you think is a competitor, but you might need them on a bigger project. They might need you. Don't burn those bridges, create them. have that list in that bench that you can reach out to depending what the project requirements are. You want to always bring the most qualified team to the deal. And that's how you're going to know who they are. It also is, as a small business, your job 101% of the time is to market. Tell people who you are, what you do. This is how I can help you. And that's the only way that people are going to know to come to you when they need what you do.
I think that's great advice because in a recent walk for asphalt, I had 3 vendors come to the table. They knew each other, but they also referred work to each other. They're lucky in a sense, but in that field of business, summertime is crazy busy. And as they, inevitably sometimes back out on a bid because they want to make sure the job was right and the job wasn't necessarily right due to their schedule, they refer each other. So I think that's one big thing is, networking. It's not just networking with people like us on the panel, it's networking amongst yourselves. Because as you build those relationships, you too will share tips with each other, maybe not so many tricks, but tips with one another that can help each other a little bit. And then I would just throw out any associations where you can go to events for free. So I am involved with a few associations in town, IFMA, BOMA, Sacramento, there's CREW, Commercial Real Estate Women. There's a number, but if you can go to those free events, or events where you don't necessarily have to be a member, you're going to meet and see new people because you have to think. And I tell this down to the kids that I work with as a volunteer. Every opportunity you have to meet with someone, that is a networking opportunity. So don't miss out on that.
Yeah, those are great recommendations. So if we could screen share our upcoming events, speaking of networking and learning, yeah, go on to the next. Sorry, go back to slide 48 would be great. Thank you. We're cranking it backwards. So we have a couple of upcoming events for folks to note. So we are halfway through halfway through our webinar series. So we have 2 more, one on funding and financing, which is really important. Yeah, if you can go to slide 48, and then another one on HR and administration. So really encourage people to check those out. We can also drop into the chat the link for those particular events. And then if we can go to slide 49, we also highlight events with some of our upcoming partners. So we have, there you go, I think one more, we're getting closer. So we have some upcoming events, one for veteran-owned businesses, and then SMUD is offering a couple of great programs. One is on how to do business with SMUD, and then also one on Proposal Writing 101. So this is an hour-and-a-half program that I believe is offered free of charge. So we can drop those links in the chat. So we are at the last minute of our webinar. I really appreciate this wonderful group of speakers. We're all giving you a virtual round of applause. Very informative. And then I just want to note that attendees and people who registered but weren't able to attend will be able to get a copy of this video, a recording. Also a copy of our slide deck, and please by all means check our website for other upcoming events related to either the webinar series or our partners. So thank you all so much for joining us, and we appreciate you, our speakers and panelists, and invite our attendees to join us for our upcoming events. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.